these for me? Oh, okay, thanks. That's weird. It's a gas mask and a sign that says urgent. That's weird. Uh-oh. Is there gas coming in the room? Uh-oh. Let's broaden our mind. As much as I hate superhero comics, and I feel they've poisoned the comics industry and been really overdone, I enjoy superhero comics with an original idea. Therefore, I enjoy comics between the period of 1940 through 1955. I feel that that was the golden age. Joker killed people. He did it on a regular basis. He wasn't like Heath Ledger, I understand, but you know, he killed people, and he was a merciless, smart, not chaotic, not crazy per se, but just a very smart, you know, and very charismatic villain to Batman. And Batman, of course, hated him because Batman is the epitome of everything, you know, very stern. But Joker also is very macabre and dismal for the times. And You know, back then, comics were about murder, and it was pretty interesting. And Joker came up with some really clever schemes. Take the one from his first appearance in the comics as a whole. He says to Batman Robin, "I'm going to kill this guy at midnight, and you won't be able to stop me." So the police form a whole barricade around the guy, and you know, he's famous, and they know that Joker won't be able to try anything because he's surrounded by like 12 cops. And then midnight comes, and the guy's like, "Ha, I didn't die." But then he starts laughing like crazy, and then when he dies, he has this creepy smile on his face, and you know, so you know it's the Joker. And the trick is, Joker injected the guy with this drug secretly a whole day beforehand. The drug took 24 hours to work. And just think about the amount of dedication that the comic Joker took to ensure that it would be a very hard to figure out crime. But he knows Batman will solve it, but you know, he's trying to taunt Batman like that. It's a game of wits. It's a game of good and evil, stern and chaotic, and just, you know, just the very interesting conflicts like that. The crimes that Joker came up with in the original comics. The Cesar Romero Joker doesn't do anything like that. I think the trouble with Joker on the old Batman shows, every show had a different supervillain. It was like, and you know, what really bothers me is they cut out Two-Face. Not in a single episode is there Two-Face. And there's a script by Harlan Ellison, but it wasn't made into an episode, which I think really sucks, because Two-Face is one of the best villains from the original comics. But he's not in a single episode of the 60s show, and I think that's stupid. But regardless, any episode with Joker, you'd think, because, you know, the episodes are formatted so that there's one or maybe possibly two villains per episode, right? So, with the original show, any episode with Joker, you would think, would be more interesting than all the other episodes. Because in the comics, the original comics, and in most Batman literature, the Joker is Batman's supreme nemesis. He outdoes all the rest. You know, if Riddler or Catwoman or Penguin is there, they'll be challenging, sure. But Joker is just the ultimate worst villain. He's Batman's worst day, right? But in the 60s show, whenever the Cesar Romero Joker is on, he's barely even more of an opponent than any other villain, which I think is stupid. It's just like, his gimmick is jokes. And the show took all these stupid villains that weren't even in the comics, like ever, and they had the stupidest gimmicks, and they just made them seem as important as Joker, which makes no sense. You got cowboy guy, music guy, Robin Hood guy, nerdo guy, you got old grandma lady, you got Russian lady, you got diamond lady, you got Egypt guy. Egypt guy was like in 3 different episodes. That's, I'm sure, as much as Joker, I think. And then you got like I mean, I forget all the stupid villains I came up with. Just like villain upon villain that shouldn't be in Batman because they're too stupid. And it's just like, I mean, there's a villain whose gimmick is eggs. That's his gimmick. And sure, he's Vincent Price. I like Vincent Price. I don't like the character. The character is stupid.
Material can resist my incomparable explosive. And now, let us make our exist.
That would never be in the comics. The original comics, 1940, 1955, there is nothing that stupid in the whole expanse. They'd never come up with a stupid throwaway villain whose gimmick is eggs. Or who gets hit on the head and he gets amnesia and he thinks he's a fat Egyptian King Tut, because King Tut wasn't even fat. My point being, the original 60s TV show took too many liberties, and it does that in particular with Joker. See, since every episode has to be the most challenging thing Batman's ever faced, and, you know, the universe isn't really shared because there's only one villain per episode. They never cross over or any more interesting than like they are in the comics. Essentially, it's just one villain per episode, and Joker isn't that interesting in the TV show. His gimmick is just jokes. He has laugh rays and stuff.
Hello, kiddies. Meet the Joker.
You know, in the comics, a typical plot of his would be to poison the entire water supply of Gotham City, so anyone who drinks the water supply would get a creepy smile and they'd laugh themselves to death, right? And that's a very, you know, it's Joker themed, sure, but it's also very grisly, and, you know, you think Batman really has to stop that, right? The 60s show tries to do that, except Joker just releases this harmless little Joker jelly into the water supply, and it makes the water inedible, but no one's poisoned. That's, you know, the 60s show is so censored. There's no murder or blood or anything. And the comics, you know, before Seduction of the Innocent, they were, you know, they were very, you know, honest in, you know, the kind of stuff a creepy clown criminal would do. And you wouldn't just make the entire water supply into jelly, inedible jelly. I mean, sure, people get thirsty, but they don't die, which is really, I think, the problem with Cesar Romero Joker. You know, no one ever dies. He does a stupid surfing contest with Batman. I mean, that's just stupid. You can say it's campy all you want, but the comics weren't campy. They were genuine. They were the real deal. They were hardcore noir with gangsters and crooks and murder and all kinds of stuff. And that's why they were good. They were solid literature. But then you look at Cesar Romero Joker. He's surfing. He's surfing with Batman. His big plan isn't, I'm going to kill the entire populace of Gotham City, or I'm going to kill Commissioner Gordon. His plot now is just, I'm going to surf. I'm going to be king of the beach. You know. And another thing is, the 60s show is made in the 60s when surfing was popular, but the comics were made in the 40s when it wasn't that popular, so they don't even adapt the 40s comics that well. You might say, I mean, it just makes me sad to think that so many people have seen the original 60s show but not the original comics. Because while they kind of draw on a comic aesthetic, what with the giant sound effects and whatever, which are the only cartoony part of the whole bit, they're nothing like the comics. You've got to read the original Bob Kane comics to know what Batman's supposed to be. Because Bob Kane invented Batman. And Bill Finger did too, sure, but I think Bob Kane was, you know, a very smart cookie when it came to Batman. And he, you know, he changed the way everyone saw superheroes. Back then, the superhero market wasn't overblown. But let's ignore that. Moving on to 1989 and the Jack Nicholson Joker. Jack Nicholson is the best adaptation of Joker that there's ever been, because he's silly and he's goofy and he does jokes, but he also kills people and he gasses them and he gives them the creepy Joker smile and makes them laugh themselves to death.
New and improved Joker products with a new secret ingredient. Smiling.
You know, he's very grisly, but also he has a refined sense of humor, and he knows just how to get under Batman's skin. And in the original 1989 Batman movie, you see this incredible character dynamic between Joker and Batman. And I just can't think. You know, and it keeps its comic roots, but it goes back to the original comics, and it says, here's what Joker does. He's a murderer, and Batman has to stop him. Here's why I think Heath Ledger's Joker is trash. Heath Ledger's Joker isn't a clown. He's a guy in sloppy makeup, and he just has a gun. He just uses a normal gun. You know, Joker's supposed to use gag weapons, sure, that are clown-themed, but not like Cesar Romero. They're supposed to look clownish, but also kill people. You know, take a gun that has a bang flag in it, but then it actually shoots a bullet afterward. Or like a boxing glove gun that's strong, it's so strong it can, you know, knock someone out, like for real. To emphasize that he's not just joking around, he's the real deal. But Heath Ledger's Joker takes this to an extreme. I don't know how I can feel for Heath Ledger. You know, he's also the Brokeback Mountain guy. It's like he's so touching in that, and then he's evil Joker over here, and it's like, you know, those are his only two roles ever, so I know I'm supposed to sympathize with him. I know he's dead, but his Joker just isn't that good. You know, the new Joker, like the corners, I swear, the corners of his smile are like cut. Like he cut the corners of his smile. The thing about Jack Nicholson Joker and Joker in the original comics is they inflict harm to other people, but never on themselves. They're too selfish to do that. And that's what Heath Ledger's Joker gets wrong. He wouldn't cut his own smile in. That's stupid. Jack Nicholson Joker, in particular, is angry at Batman because he doesn't want to look like a clown. He was dumped in the chemical vat by Batman, which is also how it happens in the comics, and I think that's the best origin ever.
To them, you're just a freak. Like me. They need you right now.
But Tim Burton takes it even a notch further. He says, you know, Bruce Wayne's parents weren't just murdered by some random thug, which is how it happens in the comics, and admittedly that's kind of boring. He was murdered by Joker before he became Joker. So Joker created Batman, and then Batman creates Joker. It's like the best, you know, most interesting villainy ever. And to think that Tim Burton thought of that and no one else did, I think you gotta give him credit for that, to make Joker. And just the way it's revealed. At first there's, you know, the opening scene where his parents get shot, but it doesn't show who did it. And then in the middle of the movie, there's this flashback, and Bruce is like, oh my gosh, it was the Joker that killed my parents and made me who I am today. And now I've got to kill the Joker, because he ruined my life. But I'll still keep serving up justice as Batman. You know, and it's just an incredible origin. The problem with Cesar Romero and Heath Ledger's Joker is they have no origin, really. Cesar Romero shows up out of nowhere and we're expected to know who he is. I mean, there's not even the chemical vat backstory with him. And then with Joker, he's just some random thug going around and shooting people's head off with a normal gun. You know, there's one part where, like, he sticks someone's head into a pencil. It's not that funny, it's just morbid. I don't know. He's not funny, he's like, why so serious? He seems pretty serious. You know, he looks like a mess on a floor. His makeup is awful, you know? Jack Nicholson Joker. Jack Nicholson Joker has the best makeup. You look at him, he's so snazzy. He's been dumped into a chemical vat, but he knows how to put some fashion on. He's like purple suit, you got the nice green tie, and then you got the nice slick back green hair, the red lips, and the big white face, and you look at him and you're like, well, he looks scary, but, you know, he's neat, he's not all sloppy. Heath Ledger Joker looks like a pizza threw up. His face looks so smeary. How'd he get so smeary, and why does he want to look like that? How does he expect to command respect? You know, if he looks that stupid and messed up, you know, he just looks like some weirdo. That's not Joker. You know, Joker has a better aesthetic than that.
They'll cast you out. Like a leper. See, their morals, their code, bad joke.
So, yeah, Heath Ledger Joker is horrible. And I just don't know, you know, I don't know why anyone thinks he's so great. He's too violent, and he's stupid. Not just that he's violent, Joker's supposed to be violent, sure, but Heath Ledger isn't even a clown. He's just a mindless thug, you know, and Batman just punches him in the face until he gives up. It's pretty boring. It's pretty stupid, right? So again, that's my point with Heath Ledger Joker. I gotta say, you know, Heath Ledger Joker is awful, and so is Cesar Romero. They're both gutter rubbish, and Jack Nicholson has got them all beat. He's the best Joker, and I just can't imagine anyone saying otherwise. You've got to have balance. On one end, there's Cesar Romero. He's too stupid. He's too goofy. He doesn't do anything. He's not scary. On the other hand, you got Heath Ledger. He's too scary, but he's also stupid. And he's not scary, but he's violent and dumb and bloody. Jack Nicholson in the middle is... On one end, you got Cesar Romero. He looks dumb. He doesn't inspire fear in you. And he's too goofy. And he's too silly. And just, you know, he just uses these stupid weapons. His car looks like a joke. He is a joke. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got Heath Ledger. He's too violent, he's too scary, but he's not really that scary because he looks stupid. And he's too violent, and he's barely even a clown. He's not a clown. And Jack Nicholson Joker, right in the middle, is where the best Joker is at. You know, because he's very evil. He's evil, no doubt about that. He's scary. He tries to kill Vicky Vale, you know. But also, he has a sense of humor. And Jack Nicholson really puts forth everything in the role of Joker. And if I had to pick someone to play Joker, I'd certainly pick Jack Nicholson too. He has everything right with Joker. You know, right down to the thugs he surrounds himself with, to the big old Joker helicopter at the end, the laugh box that stays in him as he dies and keeps laughing, and then, of course, the parade where he gasses everyone. And that's really one good connection to the comics, you know. He makes people into facsimiles of himself because he's so angry at being turned into a clown. And he says, you know, if I'm a clown, everyone else will be too, and I am going to gas the entirety of Gotham City. And the parade scene, there's just nothing more terrifying than that. Being caught in a parade, which you just think is going to be a parade, and then they poke the balloons and all that. And Tim Burton, he really gets the dark, yet simultaneously fun look of Gotham City, right? In addition to having the really creepy balloons. They're really creepy, but they're also really fun to look at, and interesting. You know, Jack Nicholson Joker knows how to party down and have a good time, but only as a means to an end. The best scene in Tim Burton's version is where the whole museum is filled with gas, and he sends Vicky Vale a gas mask, and then he's like, opens the door, Lawrence pushes the button, and then the Prince song starts up. And it just comes out of nowhere, like it smacks you in the face, and you gotta think, wow, if this Joker is willing to party down to that groovy, funky Prince music and just have a good time, he's just willing to knock himself out, vandalizing and destroying all the art. And it's just, you know, it's really horrifying because he's ruining this museum, which could be beautiful, but, you know, I mean, you know, the music really sets the mood, and I think it was a good decision on Tim Burton's part to hire Prince, because Prince really added a nice soundtrack in there. But also, of course, you know, Jack Nicholson destroying the museum, that's got to be one of the best scenes in movie history, I'd say.
Let me take you this guy.
Look what you've done to my hair!
Mean kid. Fancy. I like them all.
And then again, we got, you know, Heath Ledger. What's the deal with Heath Ledger? Why do people latch on to him so much? I mean, I understand. No, he's not even really better than Jared Leto. You look at Jared Leto, sure, he's covered with tattoos and he looks like Lil Wayne, but, you know, Heath Ledger's just as awful. He's just a mindless thug. He brings no personality to the role. He's just like, why so serious? You know? That's not a joke, it's just like, why so serious? You know? He's just like, huh, I'm fun, why are you so serious? Maybe because you're killing everyone. You know, people would be serious. And that's something Jack Nicholson Joker always gets. He's just sarcastic. He knows what he knows what he's doing, at the very least. Now, for a moment, consider the different Batmans. Now, Val Kilmer and George Clooney are useless. They're just man-meat set aside when Joel Schumacher hijacked the series, which could have gone great if Tim Burton had kept doing it. But let's compare and contrast Adam Wayne and Michael Keaton and Christian Bale. As for Adam West, we'll start with him. He always sounds bored. He brings no life into the part. I think he's trying to sound like James Bond or something, but the way that he talks is boring. He's just like, duh, 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 duh. And it gets very monotone, and you can't see the trauma that Batman endured in the role, because Adam West is pretty boring. You know, there's none of the pathos of the original comics there. Take Christian Bale. Takes the grittiness, and he overdoes it. His voice sounds like gravel. It sounds like he has throat cancer. He's like, I'm Batman. And these days, whenever anyone does a Batman impression, they're like, I'm Batman. That's not how Batman talks. Batman has a normal voice. He's just a normal guy without that weird, gravel-sounding voice. And I don't know, maybe that's just how Christian Bale naturally talks. And it works right in some cases. Like in Vice, he's a great Dick Cheney because of that voice. You know, he's better at playing the Penguin than he is playing Batman. Because Dick Cheney is the Penguin, you know. But Christian Bale has a weird voice, and he really ruined Batman. Because Batman doesn't have a weird voice. He's just like, I'm Batman. You know that? Or maybe not like that. That's my voice, but whatever. Right in the middle is Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is the best Batman. A lot like how Jack Nicholson's the best Joker. Weird how it goes like that, right? Michael Keaton, some might say, he's a comedy actor. He was Beetlejuice. He's not a good Batman. And sure, maybe he doesn't look how like I'd expect Bruce Wayne to look. He looks too much like Michael Keaton. And you can really see that, and he's not very macho for sure. But once he puts on the Batman mask, you know, he's Batman, because, you know, you can't see his face, because it's covered up with the Batman mask, but, you know, and, you know, I can't really recognize Michael Keaton's voice as much as I can his face, so when he puts on the mask, yeah, that's Batman. Normal voice, he doesn't sound like Adam West, he's not boring, you know, and he doesn't surf or do the stupid dance. You know, people always point to the scene in Batman the movie, I mean the original stupid Adam West version, where Robin and Batman are like, oh my gosh, before just it was Penguin or Catwoman or Riddler or Joker, now they've all teamed up to be all four supervillains in one movie. And it's like, you didn't expect that? Why wouldn't they do that? Could it be that they're constrained by episodes where it can only be one or two of them at a time? And their plan is to shrink the United Nations. It's just stupid. But people always point to the scene where Adam West Batman is dangling from a helicopter and his legs being bitten off by a shark. And they point at that one scene and they're like, wow, the old Batman sure is stupid. But what you fail to get is that the entire series is stupid, beginning to end. It's trash. It's stupid garbage. And Michael Keaton does away with all that. He's a very serious Batman. You can see the trauma, the drama, and he's like, you made me Joker. And like, the way he delivers that. It just wows you. You're like, what a character, you know? So anyway, that's as for Batman's. One thing I would like to bring up. Whereas Jack Nicholson is a better Joker than Cesar Romero, I feel that Burgess Meredith from the original 60s show is the best Penguin, far better than Danny DeVito. Tim Burton took the Penguin, who's a comic character. He's only to be used in humorous situations because he's a fat guy with umbrellas. That's his thing. And maybe Burgess Meredith isn't very fat, you know, but he fluffs up his suit with some pillows or whatever, and he becomes the Penguin with his whack whack and his goofy little waddle. Danny DeVito is far too dark in the sequel, I feel.
Big turd, look what you've done to my hair.
While we're comparing the various characters while we're at it, I feel that as far as Catwoman's go, Michelle Pfeiffer and Julie Newmar are both real good in the part. You know, they're both like, you know, both of them are in love with Batman, but don't want to admit it or whatever. You know, and that's always an interesting dynamic to bring into the picture. And it was in the original comics too, which I admire. But halfway through the series, Julie Newmar is replaced by Eartha Kitt. And I don't object to that. I don't object to having women of color in 60s TV shows. I mean, certainly, it's important. I look at Star Trek and I'm like, wow, her is a neat character. That was a time when, you know, it was revolutionary. But I look at Batman and I look at how, like, the Catwoman's change halfway through. You can't get better than him. He's the master of goth cinema. And sure, maybe now he's sold out to Disney with his stupid Dumbo remake and Alice in Wonderland. You know, but in his prime, those were good movies. Mars Attacks, original Hansel and Gretel. You know, I always saw Tim Burton as the alternative. Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Ed Wood. He got fired from Disney for making Hansel and Gretel. And I highly suggest you watch his version. It's amazing and really shows just what a great filmmaker he is, but I think Batman was really probably my favorite of his. It has Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Both of them are tremendous in the roles. They fill them out great. And Jack Nicholson in particular. He's like the best Joker.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker.
You know, you just gotta say, who's the best? On the one hand, you've got Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero is horrible. On the other hand, you've got Heath Ledger. He's horrible. And right in the middle, you've got Jack Nicholson. He's the Joker. He's the best Joker. Heath Ledger isn't complex just because he shoots people and stabs people's heads with a pencil. I mean, sure, Jack Nicholson, you know, stabs a guy in the neck with a poison pin, but then he's like, the pin is mightier than the sword. And no one laughs. But at least he has a pretty more creative weapon than just a pencil. And, you know, he says a joke after it, and he has a bunch of henchmen who follow him around. They're like mimes, and it's pretty neat, you know, because Bruce Wayne isn't Batman, but he's like, wow, where are all these mimes coming from? And he looks down the street. And that's really very cool. That's where I feel the magic of the original 1989 version was solid. I don't think Batman Returns was quite as good. It was missing a lot, but as for the original Batman, that's, I think, as close to the comics as we'll ever get. And I don't admire adaptations because I feel that if a filmmaker can't come up with their own idea, they shouldn't be making films, but I feel that Batman is one of the very few adaptations that took its source material, understood its source material, and used it to the best of its ability. And as a result, Jack Nicholson Joker will always be the best. Especially, you got the fake commercial where he's dancing around. He's like, you're all gonna look like me in a while if you keep buying cosmetics at the store because I've poisoned every cosmetic product in Gotham City. That's pretty dark, but the commercial's really good. And, you know, Jack Nicholson is walking around. Yeah, he just brings so much charisma to the role. So, for those of you who like Heath Ledger, Cesar Romero, get your head checked. They're not the ones to look up to. And as for the stupid 2-episode format of the original series, where like the villain, instead of just shooting them, he's just like, huh, I'm gonna tie you to a complex Rube Goldberg machine in the hopes that it'll work and you won't be able to escape while I leave the room.
Holy New Year's Eve! He's got me in his famous trick streamers! Have a sneeze on me, Batman!
And it's like, Batman isn't that stupid. Nothing about Batman is that stupid. And sure, Batman just always escapes. And it's annoying to see him die. In the comics, they never shoot him. They could, at any moment. That's what really creates the suspense. But they're always like, let's not do that because the cops will show up, or Batman tricks them out of it. I'm not interested in watching Batman get out of traps. But overall, the Cesar Romero Joker ruined everything. He's too goofy. And Heath Ledger Joker is horrible and looks like an upset breakfast platter. Looks like a mess. I mean, in the comics these days, Joker, he rips off his own face, like he cuts it off and then staples it back on. And it's like, why'd you do that? You're going to get bacteria in there and all kinds of stuff. Don't. This Joker wouldn't do that. But the Tim Burton, Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton version, that's the version I'll always know is the most kickin', great, just solid adaptation of Batman out there. It's not too dark, but it's also not too light. It keeps it on the fun side, but it makes you think, who's Batman? It makes you think, that's, you know, That's a pretty realistic situation, but it's also how like it would be done in the original comic books. And if you want to get an idea of who Batman's really supposed to be, I highly suggest you look at the Case of the Chemical Syndicate, or Joker's first appearance in Detective Comics, something or another, very early number. Keep in mind, Joker's supposed to be Batman's worst ally. I mean, worst enemy. But he also doesn't look like Heath Ledger, and he's not Heath Ledger. But he's very close to Jack Nicholson. He's very, very close to Jack Nicholson. This has been a rating of all the Jokers and all the Batmans and just Batman in film in general. And so, just so you know, Batman's the best Joker, and there's no arguing that. But leave your thoughts below anyway, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.